these guys. So we're flying blind to some extent. Of course, funding is becoming a huge problem, as you all will know. This is challenging the whole world. So there's a problem with that. And then tourists and vehicles in the veld was, had some deterring value, which has now also changed. The policing, so to speak. It is pretty open and free for all up there now. The communities will be challenged financially, of course, and there will be temptations and desperation in some instances, which will lead to an increase of poaching. We've seen the 2 rhinos poached near Puros. We are deeply concerned that desperate people might now also enter the lion bone trade. We've seen poisonings already in Coadihuas, also now rearing its ugly head, which was quiet for a while. So there are quite a few threats on the horizon that are brought about by this COVID virus scenario. And, we just that much more limited compared to the past, where one, like I said, had the network, etc. So it's going to be very challenging, and we need to plan around this. That's more or less how we see it.
Okay, Isak, one specific question, the future. How do you think Namibia, local is Lekker, the whole Namibian team, what do you think can be the inputs that we, not only as a group on this platform, but also specifically Namibians out there, can actually assist in your organization and as a whole moving forward?
Yeah, I think, I think nobody really knows how fast things might recover. But by the looks of it, it will take a while. If you look at the airlines also going under, there's a huge knock-on effect. So the recovery of tourism, some people project to 2022, some say from 2021. We do not know. And like I said, conservation is actually in a big way driven by tourism and supported and complemented by tourism. So that is going to leave a huge void, and along with it, the challenges I've mentioned earlier. I'm of the opinion that local is good, and it is Lekker for sure, and we must definitely give it a go and give it all we've got. We're concerned that it might not have the capacity to support and prop up the tourism industry as it is geared for 1 million plus people per year. We do not know if the expendable capital will be there in the SADC countries, given that they're all going through the same problems. And so we very concerned that there won't be a quick fix. And to fill the void in the meantime, in terms of effective conservation, anti-poaching, etc., is going to require a lot of new plans, effective plans, with the added challenge of limited budgets, etc. So it is a big concern. We are deeply concerned.
Okay, and Namibia, if you have one question to Namibians, what can we do except send money?
Yeah, Namibia's market is very small, considering, I don't know, what was the 2018 statistic, 1.1 million tourists? I'm not sure, now. How will local tourism compensate for that loss? We also know the economy has been not great even before COVID. So typically this market, we see a lot of self-drives. I would say the first thing to recover might be low budget, self-drive tours, etc. Namibia is a Lekker place. You can still camp under any old tree. So we will have to wait and see if the people will come back to the lodges and camping sites, etc., and whether they will be able to spend money. So I don't want to be despondent or anything, but it does seem that it will take some time. And until then, we need to plug some holes. And to do that, we're going to have to make very, very clever plans and make do with the resources that we have for the maximum effect. Because if it's a vicious circle, if these animals get poached, let's say the lions vanish, that's of course a worst case scenario, which probably won't happen, but then you remove the reason for tourists to come here. So we need to sustain these things at all costs, because it's going to have an impact on tourism. And the word will go out if we should slip up and conservation and anti-poaching becomes overwhelmed by whoever is desperate enough now to start poaching. The bush meat trade is already starting, etc. So we must use everything we can, get. Local tourism will be, I would say, for the first year to 18 months, probably all we're going to have. So I would say one should have to focus on the market, the local market, including all the SADC countries, of course, Botswana, South Africa, etc., Zimbabwe. And everything will definitely be scaled down. Hence, we will have to take hands and work together and try and be as effective as possible, because we also have the added problem of limited resources now. There are not many donors that can afford to just, as in the past, contribute every month, etc., etc. The other thing is the CBNRM model is also going to weather a big storm here, because the principles that was built on will now also be challenged, because the incentive to sustain it is now also under threat. And we are concerned that people will, might just give up and start taking what they can get. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. We must remain positive, but I think it is now time to get together and think tanks like this and come up with solutions and work together.
Cool, awesome. So one last point that I just want to highlight on that in terms of what I said, what Namibians can do for you. And I think this goes for every organization joining us here today. We definitely, as advocates for Namibia, not only focusing local tourism, is Lekker is obviously the platform that we're promoting and obviously catering for here. But more importantly, we're also catering for a specific need that does not specifically depend on only tourism. So by that I mean, is there something that you need? Like, for example, you want shade netting or something like that. What can the people give or do? Maybe send us a list, email it to us that we can publish it on our page and say, listen, Delra is going to use this or need this. Elra is going to use this. Save the Rhino is going to use this. So I think we can get that from all groups, because there are willing people that maybe they're not interested in maybe traveling, but they're willing to help in any form, and see how we can actually take hands and do that. So yeah, Isak, thanks very much for that.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions first? Yeah, please.
I can quickly add to that. The old saying, if it pays, it stays. That's pretty much also the case in the conservancies. So what people can do, the moment the wildlife loses value, then it becomes a huge problem. So if you can support the conservancy camps, even if it's not up there with the palambas and so on, if you can do that, and that will generate revenue, and that will obviously create a value, even if it's a little bit of tourism, they will still value it, and that'll contribute to the conservancy's coffers, and they are in dire straits. We've just made a contribution to Toro Conservancy, to their field officer, for logistic costs, vehicle, fuel, etc., just to keep them going and to keep them on board. So that, and then also intel is needed. If you want to solve a problem, you need to understand the problem. We now cut off from a lot of the intel we used to have, through the lodges, as I mentioned earlier. Responsible tour operators going through there with groups. We should network whatever feedback and intel and information they can give us, all the people in conservation. That will put us in a position to do something about it, because a lot of information will now, not be known. A lot of things are going to happen under the radar. So that networking on the one side, and then to try and to keep the value of the wildlife by supporting, donating to the conservancies, keep them on board, and try to get them to remain positive about the concerning the CBNRM model. Because if that goes, it's going to be a huge problem. But thank you.
Thanks, Isak and Rupesh. Next.
Thank you very much. On that, would somebody like to comment? Ginger, Nadia, Rachel, anyone? And before I forget, we also have Michelle McLean joining us from America, from Miami. And she also has a few ideas on how to get, once tourism starts again, how we can get more, just more exposure for our conservancies overseas.
I can just add there that the Ministry of Environment, along with partners at EIF and WWF and others, have put together a conservancy, I think they call it the Relief, Recovery and Resilience Fund, to try and raise money to keep conservancy tourism intact in some way, along with conservancy conservation efforts, so that game guards can continue to do their jobs. I mean, there are over 2,000 people in communal conservancies that their livelihoods are really, really tenuous right now, whether it's through conservation or joint venture tourism. So it's important to support the industry as a whole so that we have something to come back to, support conservation as a whole so that, as I said, the animals are there when the people do come back, and collectively to think differently, to use schemes like wildlife credits to, through that last year, we got a partnership with Amarula, where they supported a wildlife corridor in the Sobe Conservancy that was critical. It's one that doesn't have river frontage up in the Zambezi. So, but what they do have is this really critical wildlife corridor that elephants use to move from Botswana.
And we've lost her, unfortunately.
And I believe we have two new people that just tuned in. We have Felix, and then we should have someone from Gondwana.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, now Matilda, go.
Sorry, it's my turn.
Yes, please go.
Okay, good afternoon. Sorry, as in your message, Joseph, I think I read 4 o'clock, so I was just getting ready for 4 o'clock and not for earlier than that. When did you start? At 3?
Just past. We've been busy about 10-15 minutes now. We were all had a bit of an internet slag, so yeah, you're still fresh in the group.
Okay, thank you. So I will talk under the name for TOSCO, Tourism Supporting Conservation. My colleague Lara is on her way. She's also coming at 4 o'clock. And we will happily contribute to the group for any conservation-related tourism activity in Namibia that we can start even on a local basis. I'm just coming from the Northwest, and there is indeed a big problem of lack of eyes in the area for poaching, and also support for the game guards and the rhino and lion rangers.
Awesome, thanks. Welcome, Rupesh. I think if Ginger's internet fell out, so we lost the last bit of her conversation. Maybe we then jump towards, we've had Elra, so I know we've had Elra. Maybe Rach, if you...
sorry, hi, Kuru.
Yeah, Michelle.
Hi, Ginger's back, so
oh, there we go.
I see now. Conversation.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, and yeah, TOSCO is also working on wildlife credits, so they can add as well to that conversation. But I just think the time is now to, we understand it's going to take a while for tourism to come back. When it does, the predictions are it will come back in smaller groups, looking for space, wanting to travel with friends that they know. They know their medical history. They feel confident being around. Namibia's tourism industry is well regulated. It has a good safety record. We've got tons of space. We've got a lot of reasons why tourists should want to come back to Namibia and feel confident in coming back. So it's important that we work together to keep the infrastructure going, to support communities, to support conservation efforts, and to do so in really creative ways. Wildlife credits is one example. The B2 Gold, Rhino Gold Bar is another example, and there must be others out there. So if you have ideas, let me know.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, Tosco, Batul, you were saying something about partnering up as well.
About what?
About partnering up with companies and.
Yes,
I mean,
for
are you guys...
local tourism. So let me, Mathilde is a colleague of mine, but I'm not Mathilde, I'm Felix. Maybe you gave me her ID for the...
No, I didn't, but I'll change it, but I didn't.
Okay, but she's also French speaking. Okay. Yes, so on Tosco side, we have launched a support fundraising campaign for the rangers to keep them going during the lockdown, but also while there is no tourism activity. And the NCE, Namibia Chamber of Environment, also asked us to work on a strategy to restart local tourism. So our input will be more how to make it useful for conservation and make it useful in conservancy. Our input will be how we can restart local tourism within the conservancy, and as an economical benefit, but also as a patrolling benefit.
Oh, can you? Okay.
His internet as well.
I think it's internet.
Oh, there he's back.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a delay. So from June, so we will start from June to gather information about what tourism we can do in the conservancy, price-related activity, and we will set up new range of activities that the locals can do at a reasonable rate that will keep the conservancy, the tourism part of the conservancy running.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Nadia, would you like to say something on that?
So I've just got a few things that I'm thinking about more like broader picture long term, where Namibia as a nation needs to start rethinking a few things. We obviously have a fantastic reputation around our wildlife management, but I think in this conversation, I mean, we're talking about conservation, and I think we forget the role that private sector, you know, the small reserves, the small SMEs around Namibia that are privatized, and their contributions to conservation. Of course, we know the majority of our wildlife exists outside of protected areas through the CBNRM program, but we've got all these guys that have private reserves and wildlife there as well. So you know, for me, it comes down to, you know, conservation is about people, their livelihoods, wildlife and land. And that's everyone in Namibia, not just communal conservancies. Some of the things I think we really need to go forward thinking about as a nation, because this effect is going to go on for years and years and years. It's not, we're not going to get out of this in a year or two or three. And one thing I think people need to start rethinking in terms of privately owned, like game fenced land, is opening up landscapes. This is really, really important. You know, even though people want to keep their wildlife within these game fenced areas, some of the most affected areas that I've seen last year in particular are the private reserves, because wildlife don't have free movement, and so the grazing is affected, the whole area is affected, and these guys have had to put tons of money into keeping their wildlife alive, feeding rhinos lucerne and grass because they've got this contained area. And you're also seeing exotic species that don't adapt to that area costing you a fortune suddenly. Now tourism is gone and you've got to keep all these exotic species alive. Whereas our wildlife in their endemic and natural areas are drought resistant or live in areas that sustain them. And so I think a lot of us need to start rethinking that with the private sector guys. That having the wildlife that they have is causing a big financial drain on them right now, because suddenly we have to keep waterbuck and lechwe alive in areas they don't live. So we need to look at management and healthy biodiversity. I think the roles of predators as well. Indiscriminate killing of predators. And that has a huge effect on just keeping the balance. And also just creates these vacuums of where predators move in and carry on. And also, we mustn't forget these guys, because they're also having their wildlife poached. Is on private reserves. They're also having their gemsbok. We can see it happening all.
I think we lost
Nadia. If I can quickly, if Nadia comes back, I'll just maybe we'll just pop her a message to say that her internet's very sluggish. I think everybody agrees we're having a bit of trouble following her conversation. Rupesh, can you just maybe pop her a message, and then because I'm concentrating on something else now. So to continue conversation, I think we've had Elra, Rachel, you're up. Give us your rundown about how everything's going there and what the topics we discussed. Wait. There we go.
Yeah, we were raising most of our funds from a voluntourism project. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, okay, there's a message on my screen. And that had been going for about 15 years, and we were doing really well from that. We had groups every 2 weeks of the year, groups of about 14 people, international volunteers coming in, and that was fantastic. It enabled us to do our wall building, which was the main thing that we were doing to protect water points, to stop elephants from causing damage. It also enabled us to have the funds to be out in the field, that we could track and monitor the elephants, respond to any problems. And it also enabled us to get started with an educational project. On top of that, we also work with schools. We also obviously assist the conservancies where we can. And we were really doing so well. This year was going to be our busiest yet, and we could really see where we could scale up our work and our assistance to the conservancies. So I think, like everybody else, it happened rather quickly, didn't it? So I don't think many of us were in a position where we'd saved for this, or we had just bought a Land Cruiser with our savings probably about a month before this happened, which is now stuck, needing to be sold. So it wasn't something that we had prepared for. What it's meant is that we very quickly had to do something about finding money. Like, what are we going to do? And I think for the first couple of weeks, I suppose I was feeling a bit desperate and thinking, oh, goodness. And people were even advising us that we have to close. And, if there's no more tourists and you don't have an income, then you can't operate anymore and you should close down. If you can't just cover your basic salaries and your costs, then, you should close. And for a while I was thinking, oh my goodness, how can we do that? And I feel so strongly that we've made such a strong commitment to the work that we are doing, and to the conservancies, to the communities, to everybody who's got used to our support, that, to have that kind of defeatist attitude wasn't really something that we were going to entertain. And I have to say, our team was totally amazing. Everybody has taken salary cuts. even though they're still working. It's not that our work is gone. You know, we've got more than ever, if anything. We just don't have the same funding anymore. So yeah, the staff have been absolutely fantastic, and everyone's really pulled together. We were really fortunate that we have had around about 3,000 volunteers through our doors since we started. So we had a really huge base of donors that we could start asking for money, basically, which we had never done. And I think that was probably where we've been quite lucky. We sort of pride ourselves really on being able to be sustainable because of our own efforts. And you know, using tourism basically to fund the conservation work. So I think when I had a bit of a switch in my brain and realized, you know, we're not a tour company. I mean, we're actually almost in a fortunate position that we can fundraise, we can ask for money. We've got other options. I mean, tour companies, you can't do that. But for us, we can, you know, people have visited us, they totally believe in the cause, they've physically worked on the cause and really believe in it. So we've managed to get quite a lot of donations in, which will keep us running for a good few months, actually. And then we literally got into our computers, people who are normally in the field, everybody came in, and we're just applying for grants. We're looking for sponsorships. We're trying to think of inventive ways to raise money. We started an online t-shirt shop, and within a couple of days we'd raised over $1,000 US. I mean, you know, it didn't take much to do. So I think it's about, I think, which somebody said there, it's about really, you know, diversifying and getting creative, you know. And obviously it was great at a time to be able to have your own income, because there's only so much money going around for conservation organizations to apply to. And now, of course, there'll be even less. But I think it's about working together now and seeing, okay, how can, you know, we give something to the conservancies that they need and jointly apply for money. We've got one grant application that's coming up now, and, you know, we need to be out in the field, we need to be able to build our walls, and we need to do our education project. So we've re-strategized now to say that we must always be able to do those three things. Whether or not the volunteers come back again, we must always have enough money coming in that we can do the work that we're supposed to do. So yeah, one of the grants we're applying for now then will include the game guards from the conservancies, you know, with those patrols and the costs of their salaries and the patrols that they need to do that they can't do anymore. Then we do it together, you know, we all get our work done that way. We can check on the elephants, we can do their fixed route patrols with them, and we can do some training at the same time. We can take our elephant guards out as well. So yeah, I think it's a lot of diversifying, getting a bit creative, and collaborating. But yeah, not an easy time, and to suddenly not be in the field when people are relying on you and waiting on you is a frustrating and scary position to be in. And like Isak said, of course people are going to get desperate, and so far, you know, the elephants in the main area that we're working in, they haven't been poached, but we've had problem elephant declarations used so widely that there's only one breeding bull left now. And I mean, people have a really hard time, of course, living with the elephants, and I think have begun to rely on us. Shannon, who manages our peace project, and Hendrik, they've been going on the radio, giving out, you know, on the Herero radio stations and Damara radio, giving out safety messages, you know, so we can't be in the field during the lockdown, but we can still give information out over the radio. We've got a nice network of elephant guards, and one guy there, Neto, he's been brilliant. He was building those tippy taps. He's been on the radio. He's, you know, making sure that that network is out there and the message is still coming across, that people don't feel on their own. I think Shannon's phone doesn't stop ringing. Hendrik, he's based up in Ruakana, and he's had lots of phone calls from the area where these poor elephants were shot now. So yeah, it's just about just changing the way that we do things, I think, and just keeping the momentum up, just not stopping. But yeah, a really scary, really scary position to be in when you've built something up from nothing, literally, and then, you know, almost got to the point where you felt, okay, kind of comfortable that you could think about expanding and doing more, and then suddenly to be slammed straight back down again, but with much bigger overheads and promises and commitments was a bit of a challenge. But actually somebody who works for me said, didn't you always have no money? And I said, yeah, it was always like that. And she said, well, it's just like that. You were fine then, so you'll be fine now. I was like, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, so, I mean, I come from a fundraising background in the UK, and it's no fun. It's the thing, fundraising is really hard. You know, you don't know if you're going to get these grants. It takes ages to do. You don't know if people are going to go for the initiative that you've come up with. And for us, the voluntourism was really a brilliant way to get our message across and earn money at the same time. So yeah, I guess we're back to the situation that every other charity is in for now.
Well,
yeah.
So the biggest
My
impact
comment-
has obviously been, yes, of course, Isak, yeah, go by all means.
Okay, now I was just thinking, yeah, a bit of deja vu. What we're effectively doing here, if you look at the evolution of tourism, international tourism, and how it's grown as and when the airlines got more competitive and aviation became easier and so on and so forth. If you look at statistics, I just had a little bit of a look today. In South Africa, 1988, the Kruger National Park, or no, the whole country, sorry, had 400,000 tourists in 1 year. Some say it's because of the apartheid years, you know, the sanctions, etc., and so forth. They weren't very popular. But if you compare that to 2017, the number was 10.8 million, if my information is correct. It just shows you how this evolved. Now we're turning back the clock. We are now back to 400,000 where they were in 1988, you know, so to speak, not literally, of course. If you look back what happened then with a park as large as Kruger National Park, there were hardly any NGOs. NGOs were almost unheard of in those days. The Parks Board looked after the whole park. And very effectively, I mean, poaching was very low. The law enforcement was very effective, even compared to how it is today. What I'm trying to say is that we will be naive if, well, in my humble opinion, if we think we're going to restart and the tourism revenue is now going to save the day as far as preservation and conservation is concerned of the wildlife. There is a new Wildlife Act that is yet to be promulgated, which makes provision for honorary rangers. Now, we have a lot of older people in Namibia who used to work for nature conservation, people like Fritz Schenk, Frank Borkmuil, I can name you quite a lot. They are often in the areas, but there's no cohesion. I think it is clear also that the Ministry of Environment has got its hands full. They've got limited budgets and resources, and it is clear that they cannot, you know, actually control this. And even now, with the bigger challenges that we're facing, what I'm trying to say is that we should source from these guys. There should be a program. Typically, some of the lodges has maintenance personnel looking after the place, security personnel. There's at least somebody there, and they've got a vehicle. They and the honorary rangers program should, I think, have some cohesion. You know, one should establish an effort like that to enhance and to supplement and complement the resources of the Ministry of Environment, so that at least you've got law enforcement still going on. Of course, first prize is not to just enforce the law, it is to help the locals. But tourism will do that eventually, but that will take time. In the meantime, you must do damage control. And to do that, you need infrastructure, vehicles, boots on the ground, etc. Where are they going to come from? You know, the tour guides are not there anymore, or their trips are few and far between. So we've got to analyze and identify what do we have in the area to work with. For instance, you've got a maintenance guy at D Camp, you've got one at Madisa, it's, you know, etc. and so forth. They've got vehicles, they've got cell phones, and that must be harnessed and used for the short to medium term until it'll be business as usual. But we'll be naive if we think that's not going to be needed. I'm getting back to the void I mentioned earlier. There's going to be a huge void, and that could be the make or break of the CBNRM model. So we've got to, at all costs, use whatever we've got, pool it, and coordinate it, you know, to stem the tide, so to speak. Thank you. That is about it.
Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, the boots on the ground. I think that's one comment I took from that. And Rachel, to add on to your conversation, basically following Isaac's comment as well, in terms of the human elephant conflicts going on now at the moment. You say obviously you guys have been locked down, not being able to be in the field. Any ideas on how that's going now, or are you able to actually send your guys out into the field? And if not that, how do you maybe see, whether it's with Isaac's organization or yours, how we can get some people on the ground, or how Namibians, for that matter, can actually get together to get the boots on the ground and start supporting? How do you see that that idea or flow going?
Yeah, so we were able to send out 2 of our staff for the period of lockdown. So they were in the field continuously. We were able to get one of the essential service certificates. So they had free movement. So once we'd raised some money, we could see, okay, we can afford the fuel to send them out. So luckily we did have people out on the ground, which was brilliant. Yeah, and then going forward, we you might have seen, I've posted it on your Facebook site about our camp. We've got this wonderful base camp on the Uchab River, which is normally just used for the volunteers. It is registered with NTB actually, and so we've decided then to obviously let Namibians come and enjoy that. It's a super place actually, so it's a waste for it to sit there all on its own empty. So we're doing that to raise money, and we've got some great support already from Namibians coming in, so that's fantastic. And then the other thing that we want to do is actually try and find enough Namibians that will come and help us build these protection walls. That's the thing that we just need to do. If we can just cover our costs, we can't simply just stop doing them. They need to be built. So there's some tourists stuck here in Namibia. I know Yvonne and some of her friends are quite keen to come. So if people are sitting around at home, with nothing to do, please get in touch with us, because we would love to get some groups together that we can continue doing the wall building and the patrolling with the elephants as well. It's a really special week, well, a couple of days. And like I say, we'll just make it affordable, just so that we can cover our costs and we can actually get the work done.
In terms of infrastructure, if somebody that's saying now wants to go on a trip and say, well, we've got our car, we've got our food, but we just want to help, what do you need? What can we bring? Are you guys open to something like that as well? Is there some information that you can share with us? And not now, but maybe just send to us that we can post it on the group or something like that? Anything in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, on really the main thing that we need to do is keep building these walls. It's like the thing that we're really trying to figure out at the moment. So people could bring their own car, but of course we're set up with our own minibus, and people could just get to Swakopmund or to the base camp, and then we're so used to organizing that it was like Groundhog Day for us, that we can just put on trips again. And if people are happy, it's basic conditions, but very rewarding. And yeah, like I say, if you haven't got anything to do, then rather come and give us a hand and let's help these people out. We actually had some money from the Rotary Club, and so we have installed some solar pumps, which we need to get walls around them fairly quickly before the elephants might come and damage them. So that's on my mind, that we need to get that done within the next month, really, I think.
Okay, well, please get that information through to us so that we can definitely share that with the guys. I know I've WhatsApped you as well, yes, so that you can share that, email me that information. And then if you say it's fine, then we'll obviously launch that. I'm going to just comment, Nadia, if you can hear us. I see that your hand was up, but the connection at the moment still breaks so badly that on my screen, I keep losing you. And as soon as I want to touch over on that, maybe you can reset it or something like that, and then just come back in, so that, because yeah, like I said, I keep losing you on that end. So yeah, I'll check when you're back. And then Michelle, maybe if I can ask you to come in.
I think that Nadia is speaking.
Yeah, I tried and saw, but then she keeps breaking away.
How am I doing now?
You coming and going. So by all means, sorry, Michelle, let's just quickly get this one done. And then I wanted to ask you a specific question after Rachel's comment. Nadia, if you can then try. If it doesn't work, then I'll just mute you. Please don't take any offense. It's just that it breaks up so badly that we can't actually see what's going on then. So yeah, I'll pop you a message then if it doesn't work.
Yeah, okay. I don't know where you lost me earlier, but I just sort of want to just bring back again that we must remember. I know a lot of the guys talking today are coming from a communal conservation side, but a lot of the people who are watching this and on the group are private sector and you know, game fenced or game farms. We mustn't forget them, because the topic is conservation, not communal conservation. So just sort of want to keep that, we acknowledge these guys as well. Yeah, and just, you know, okay, a few personal thoughts to remember. If we're talking conservation in a broader picture, it's not about individuals. Conservation is about a species, and we all play roles in, as we increase numbers of wildlife, whether it's on your small private game reserve or within the communal conservancies, there are natural carrying capacities in terms of wildlife that increase issues of human-wildlife conflict. And we need to try and look at other ways as a country of being able to not only increase populations, but once we reach a carrying capacity, to see how we can repopulate other areas that have lost wildlife that used to be in that area. You know, we've got to start thinking bigger picture, just then Namibia, an isolated island. And again, that's where I'm sort of talking a bit more to the privatized game reserves in terms of rethinking how they do things, being able to open up these landscapes with free movement of wildlife, and how I think we need to see, you know, smaller privatized game reserves and the communal CBNRM guys starting to talk more. Just an example with the desert adapted lions, sorry, there's only so much space that they can move to before they get blocked and can't migrate anymore, or dispersing animals reach areas like Caprivi. The same with the desert adapted elephants. All these routes, because of game fenced areas, and the degradation of the land in these game fenced areas because of exotic species, you know, this is also affecting it, and conservation needs to be a broader picture. And Namibians, private sector, and I'm not talking about the joint ventures, I'm talking about the reserves that have gone away from cattle farming and then moving into wildlife and tourism. We need to get together and talk about how we can open spaces, because genetic diversity is also conservation in the long term. And that's about all I have to say.
Thanks, Nadia. Yeah, I think on just a personal quick comment, I think the guys in the farmlands are not always going to be open and eager for that, because I know in some places it has been touched on. But yeah, thanks for the input, appreciate it. Michelle, on that, we discussed, firstly, welcome again and hello in the States. Hopefully the weather in Miami is quite nice. I think it is this time of year though. On the specific comments that came out of from Isak and also from Rachel, you had mentioned to me earlier the eagerness coming especially from there. And I know you've got your conservation t-shirt on today as well. Thanks for that. We're very happy about that. And yeah, just jump in your thoughts on how eager the guys actually are from your side to support conservation in Namibia and advocate for Namibia.
Great, thank you, Heiko. And I'm very honored to know some of the people on this panel personally, and all the good work that's been done with conservation. You know, being in United States, Africa's Finest Safaris is a tourism marketing specialist company here. We represent lodges in Namibia, but also Namibia as a destination. And then from this perspective, the research that I've done here in America, you know that Americans are philanthropic people. The new sort of buzzword is not only ecotourism, but tourists that have a conscious tourism, conscious tourist, that they want to come to a country that does good. They want to add value. When they do travel, it's not just to do a safari or to have a trip. It's actually to give back to the communities. The circles that I move in and the talks that I give and the way that I promote Namibia through my company is very much, it goes to the direct market. And all that I try and do is educate people on conservation, number one. The fact that Namibia has got all these wonderful aspects to it. Not only is it one of the safest countries in Africa, its conservation is part of our constitution, which is only one country in the world. So there's so many narratives and stories that I can promote here in the United States on behalf of Namibia. When I speak and engage with these groups, it's usually the Rotary International groups. It's the quite a high echelon group of people that have disposable income, that love to travel, and certainly to a country that is organized, that is safe. And so we have so much to offer from Namibia's side. And I'm really excited about this. And I know right now it's a challenging time for everybody, more than a challenging time. And my heart goes out to all of you. But there is light at the end of this tunnel. And what it is about is, although we might not be able to revive through the local tourism because of not having enough funding, right? We need to look at the international market. It's not going to happen right now, but I can give you an example. I had a group of people wanting to travel in June, a family of 5. They were going to spend 40,000 US dollars. That translates into 800,000 Namibian dollars. Now that's just, for the tourism aspect of it, but they were still going to bring more funding in terms of when they saw different projects, they were going to bring in their friends and more funding. And then that, it kind of compounds. So I believe from our side, being on the international scale, that we really can help you in Namibia. And even now with your conservancy funding that you need through the education of Namibia as a destination. And so I would love to be a part of the solution, and Africa's Finest Safaris is here at your service. So let's engage, let's collaborate, and we're willing to do the work with you.
And that's awesome to hear. It's always, it literally makes us all happy to hear that we've got such Namibians advocating for Namibia when they are actually abroad. So Michelle, thanks very, very much for that. We'll definitely still, as you know, keep in contact with regards to that and how we can support these packages and also what people have to offer. I think
sorry,
yeah, please go.
I just wanted to add, I just wanted to say to Isaac's point and to Ginger's point, that
yes,
when you educate the people who don't know about wildlife or safaris, and you tell them about the value of the wildlife, what it means for tourism in Namibia, that narrative, that story translates. People then understand why we should be saving the wildlife and the environment, because that transfers into communities being able to survive and the country being able to prosper for tourism. So that education, that narrative is really, really important.
Excellent. Thanks so much. More importantly, Isak, Rachel, I think it was Ginger, I've just been told, also had something to touch on as well. Who did I miss? Who's going next? Rupesh, help out. Ronnie, who did I miss so far?
Ginger said she's leaving in a few minutes, so if she might have some.
Oh, leaving in a few minutes. Okay, yes. Okay. Let's just unmute her. There we go.
Yeah, hi. I just want to say thank you for including me today, and I look forward to joining more conversations. And please feel to reach out if there's any way that I can help anyone.
Thank you so much, Ginger.
So thanks a lot. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Bye. Are there any specific questions or so? Isak, Rachel, Yvonne, Joseph, you've been very quiet.
I think maybe Tosco has something to say.
Yeah. Felix and Laura, I see you there.
Yes, I just take out the mute. I introduce you to Laura, who just arrived.
Hello. Nice to be here. Thank you.
And as I've said a bit earlier, Tosco input will be more how we can link the local tourism to conservation on communal lands mainly. Nadia, I heard your point, Nadia. You're right, and conservation is also on private land, but on our side, our input will be more on the communal ones. And the Game Ranger fundraising campaign also that MEFT wants to take over. Do you know more?
Yeah, but that's the MEFT one. It's a general approach to conservation, and they coordinate all the different fundraisings.
Rachel, you said you are also fundraising for the game guards in the conservancy for TISEB. Sorry.
Well, we're working between about 5 conservancies in the main, so a lot will just depend whether we get the grant. But that was one way we thought we can help out as well, is by then including the game guards on our patrol. But we'll probably focus on Soris, I think, first.
And have you been approached by MEFT about that? Because now MEFT is trying to get all the fundraising campaign together.
There is a steering group.
No, I haven't been in touch. They haven't been in touch. No.
But did you tell them you were doing fundraising for the game guards?
I haven't told them about that specific grant. No.
Okay.
Who's the main person coordinating that?
Richard is, well, as far as I know, Richard Diggle from Worldwide Fund, he is in the steering group. I don't know who else is in.
I think it's Bennett from MET.
Bennett.
Okay. I'll email Richard about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not massive. It's not massive funding. It's kind of one of these emergency funding, stopgaps. But we thought that might help us for the coming, few months and if we're anyway out in the field.
They want to coordinate and make sure that there is no double payment and that we don't create a conflict between conservancies by taking different approaches.
Yes, and making sure we are all pulling in the same direction and not in every direction, because then we lose power and we waste time and money. So it will be good that early next week, Rachel, we get in touch with you regarding this to make you to come on the same boat and the same boat.
Yeah, that grant was quite specific to it's specific to NGOs who lost their funding through, who are mostly funded with ecotourism or tourism activities. So it's quite a specific one. It wouldn't be one that they would be going for.
It is directed for the conservancies. You will direct it to the conservancies.
No, it's directed for NGOs. So it would be for us.
Yes, but the money that you will get, the funds that you will get, you want to give it to the game guards of the conservancy, not your own people.
No, it would be like a joint thing. So it would cover our costs. And we thought then if we're doing a patrol, we may as well take along the game guards. And if we can get money for their salaries as well, that could maybe cover it. It's not a big one though, but it's more about sort of being able.
Earlier in discussion, you said the grant was for the game guards. That's why I thought it was directly for the game guards, but it is for ERA. And then you will split.
The grant is for the grant is for ERA, but we just thought to try and help out them at the same time. We can all climb on one of our cars. There's no point our car going out with just 2 ERA staff on it. It may as well take the game guards at the same time. Also, our elephant guards, and everybody can do what they need to do.
Well, okay, so I misunderstood.
But I'll inform Richard about it. We were in contact about. Yeah, we were in contact about funding for the conservancies last week or the week before, so I'll tell him about that one. No guarantee we're going to get it,
but joint coordination is always a good. I mean, it's always a good start. Joint coordination and seeing what can be done where, and more importantly, standing together. I want to just jump in quickly because I know her connection isn't always the freshest. Maria, can you hear us? Can I unmute you that we can quickly we're very happy that you're there. I've just unmuted you from Rest. I know the last time we spoke is at least a couple of years ago when I joined the fly-in Otjiwarongo and had to fly back in a weather storm to Oamaru. But welcome. Give us your thoughts quickly. Tourism and Rest. How has COVID impacted you? How is the situation there now? And what do you think does the future hold?
Well, thanks for letting me join. Sorry, our Uchu connections, even in the town, have been really, really bad the last couple of days. So that's why I'm late. We're affected, for those of you that don't know REST, Rare and Endangered Species Trust. We work with sort of the smaller, lesser known endangered species, a lot of work with pangolins, some snakes now, aardwolf, that kind of thing. And we're unfortunately being severely affected. We don't do a huge volunteer program, but we do work with volunteers, especially nature conservation students, vets. You know, we've lost a lot of our vet support from Australia this year, a big group that was coming out from one of the big vet schools. And then, you know, living off of the tourism, like I'm sure so many of the participants here. So we've had to completely shut down, even though the country's open now, and we've had a little bit of local interest. We're having the problem in that we're still denying people access. Sorry, I've got some warthog in the back squealing, and a little aardwolf here. But we're having to say no to people. Even our local people, we have to say no to at the moment, simply because we're so short-staffed. I mean, we've halved our staff. So we're all doing about 3 or 4 jobs, and those jobs are critical to the survival of our animals because they have to walk in the bush every single day. You know, our pangolins and stuff like that. Pangolins, if any of you know, don't do well in captive diets. So if we lose our staff to health problems, or there are some queries about the role of pangolins in this whole virus situation, although from a scientific level, that's pretty much been deemed a mute issue. Many of the public don't know that yet, but from a scientific level, there's not a lot there, at least under the circumstances that we deal with. So yeah, I don't know, today was a rough day for me mentally. You know, I'm a pretty strong person and I don't crack easily, but I couldn't get hold of my vets even today. And we had a problem with an animal that was going into seizures. And I've got no communication up until literally 2 minutes ago. I've had no communication with the outside world. And our funding is really bad. We want to write grants. Hush, little girl. We want to write grants, but you know, I tried to do a Zoom call yesterday and today with a major donor and couldn't even get the call through. So I'm getting a bit nervous about what the future holds. You know, tourism, we can expect that even if our borders in the best case scenario open up in 2 months, that's the earliest they're going to open up. Many people say that, you know, because we did this amazing lockdown in our country, that, you know, that's why we've only got 16 cases, but now that we're going to have to open up economically and socially, it is going to hit us, and it is going to hit us hard because we've got a compromised population. So, you know, the way people do bookings and the way the rest of the world's going, we can expect, I think in a best case scenario, that we only start getting tourists in 6 months' time. Now, how are we all going to be able to afford that? I don't know, because we're all going to be going for these same emergency. We're all going to be going for these same, you know, sort of just keep us sustainable grants. And there's going to be a lot of competition internally, externally, worldwide, all the rest of it. So I don't know, mentally, I'm not in a good place right now. Obviously, we're going to keep going. I'll go with my last breath. But I think that we have to start really preparing for some very, very tough times.
Maria, on that, as Namibians, I mean, our platform is local tourism is Lekker. It's not only, we've said, and I don't know whether you've heard that, it's not built on only tourism and only supporting tourism. It's literally also creating a platform and the communication possibilities to actually, as Namibians, come together and see where we can help. And it's not always possible, but the communication and getting the word out there is always important. So in your opinion, if any Namibian would come up to you and say, listen, Maria, you know, here we are, we've either got the time because they don't have a job at the moment, or they're sitting at home not being able to do anything, or in any other way, in your opinion, how do you think Namibians standing together can assist you guys? Have you got some thoughts on that?
At the moment, for this month, I'm not really sure, because like I said, I can't let anyone even almost sit through my gate. I'm letting emergency people in for animal rescues, but you know, we're just trying to keep our staff, our basic staff, healthy and safe, and our animals healthy and safe. It's still not also confirmed whether or not transmission. Our interaction with animals is a little bit closer than some of the other Namibians. You know, you can look at rhinos and elephants from a distance, but our interaction, because we're working with compromised animals and we're working with animals that are young and need to be sort of handled quite extensively, that makes it a little bit more difficult for us than I think many of the other ones. I think it's a great initiative. And I think, maybe we need to think even more out of the box. Can we start doing, things on the web? Can we start offering virtual tours? If anyone's got 360 cameras, I was talking to a pangolin group, a worldwide pangolin group, and looking at if we can't start offering zoos and people that are sitting at home, including our local communities, virtual tours of our establishments. I'm trying to do a sort of a video every single day on Facebook, which takes some time and a little bit of effort, but it's so that the world doesn't forget about us and Namibia doesn't forget about us, because a lot of our Facebook people are Namibians. So I think that's why I'm tuning in, is to see how many other people can think out of the box, and maybe not even do it individually. Why should I be doing a virtual tour? And Save Rhino Trust is doing a virtual tour, and these guys are doing a virtual tour, and IRA and all the rest of it. Maybe we can do some kind of platform. Sorry, I'm thinking off the top of my head, but why couldn't we do a video? I don't have edit capability, but I can take some amazing footage of some really cool animals. If we all work together, surely we could edit that video into one, Save Namibia's Wildlife video, and send that around to, our nation and to the world.
Maria, you've got a very valid point, and I'm happy you mentioned the fact that there is some good footage that you have, because in one of our previous discussions, we've actually had someone specifically come up and say to us, guys, I can edit, we can put together some literal material if we get it from wherever, and they'd be willing to stitch something together for Namibia so that we can promote a unionized message and advocate a message of togetherness all over the world. In terms of this month, I realized you said, you guys, when you say hands-on help that you guys need there, in any event, when there is the possibility of people being able to not visit you, but actually come and support you there, whether it's on any basis that they can. You said you're only letting in essential people. Is there some specific reason to that? Because I know now that, travel has been lifted. Of course, there are some restrictions still in place, but you said you're only letting in essential people. Is there some specific reasoning behind that? Because I know there would be willing people to help. Just some thoughts on that.
At this point, it's all about keeping our core staff healthy. There are concerns worldwide, that now that our lockdown is actually easing, that we are going to get hit with this COVID. And I can't lose my essential staff at the moment. So, that's for the month of May. But if anyone, surely all of us have amazing footage. You elephant people and you rhino people, you've got to have stunning stuff. And we could actually do something for our nation. I think this is a great idea, and I think you guys have it spot on.
Thanks so much for that, Maria. Keep on there. And we are on our ever-growing group. I think we're at 5,400 or 5,500 people now. We still remain advocating for each and every organization, each and every establishment, whichever, wherever, however we can. We've got the saying, with the community, for the community. So if there's something that you'd like for us to literally share across the platform, please get in touch with us, email it to us. We'd be happy to share it and get it over and done with. Isak, I know that you, with Inky, especially with the footage that you guys, I've seen from you guys already, your ideas on virtual tourism, and then, okay, I see. Nadia, then you're up, but especially on the footage, because I know you guys have phenomenal footage that I've seen myself already. Your thoughts on that?
Yes, I was about to ask you if there's an orchestrated, coordinated way mapped forward, along with HIN, NTB, the MEFT, and so on, a strategy to establish Localist Lekker Namibia as a brand in the other SADC countries. Is there an outlined strategy? Is there a plan? Or I'm new here, sorry if it's a daft question, but will there be some, coordination amongst these bodies? Yes, and to answer your question, we will certainly avail what we can, and so far we post all the footage that we can, but it should be focused and projected, to platforms like this. And for instance, if there would be some coordinated effort of sorts where everybody can pool, towards such virtual tours and teasers and appetizers for the tourism community, then certainly we will contribute to whatever we can.
So just to touch on that, basically what's been happening, we've had, where I think in the it was the previous discussion, it was between Michelle, Ease, and one of our other members, that the idea started coming together about a united message, sending that out into the world. And there is a coordinator at this point in time where we'll say whether Ease is going to do a song for us or something like that. And maybe Michelle's sending out a message, and then us getting footage and collateral, footage and collateral from all over to actually stitch that all together. So to answer your question, yes, there is somebody specifically doing that for us. They've offered their services. I was on the phone with him today already, and he said, following this, whatever comes out of it, we must just provide him with the information, and we'll get that. Well, it's a initiative that has started, and so we need to build it and we need to grow it and actually see what we can get from where. Maria, you guys, and then Isak, you guys, Rachel, you guys, I mean, from everywhere. Anything can help and put together a good message at this point in time. And yes, there is somebody that will definitely be putting something good for us. It's Jens from Travel Channel. He's started out a small project on Facebook at this point in time. He's got some quite nice videos, the few that he's done up until now. He's offered to help us for now in terms of this project. And yeah, so everybody's putting in their bit, and that's how we'll get it out there.
So NTB, Han, and MEFT, everybody is buying into, and this will be a combined effort.
Yeah, the organizations have done, as we've seen, NTBs they were very quick to release some awesome material that we were able to share across the board. And this will be from the local tourism platform. But more importantly, the message that we're going to be sending out is literally not based on any specific association, organization, or whichever point. It's not to promote somebody specific, but it's literally just to build something positive for us as Namibians and us as the industry and everybody affected by this whole scenario. And whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or 10, doesn't matter at the end of the day. But it's us putting together a united front from all parts and scopes of the world, or then all parts and scopes of the industry. So the big message is going to be unity, and it doesn't matter who represents what or does what. So that's basically the core message.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nadia.
Yeah, hi. So just Maria, it's really cool to see you here, and what you guys are doing for Pangolin is awesome. And also, I'm scared to say how long you've been doing this in case I give away ages, but you know, you're someone who's been doing this for a long time in Namibia, and that just sort of brings me back as well, that we. And again, just bringing us back to national conservation versus individual projects, is that as a nation, we changed conservation, and we changed it 20, 30 odd years ago. And, you know, we've reaped the rewards at sustainable numbers of wildlife, but the human-wildlife conflict aspect is increasing because of our successes, and we mustn't forget that. And also, let's not forget that people have been living with wildlife for many, many, many years and coexisting with them perfectly fine. There's nothing new that we're coming in and teaching people about living with wildlife. They've done it for eons. What we are looking at is how the world is changing and adapting. And so, you know, what people want is different to what they needed many years ago. And again, I've said it before, I really hope that this pandemic makes all of us rethink how we live our lifestyles and how we live with excessiveness. And this is really a wake-up call to say we need to somehow lessen our impact on the whole world. Yeah, I just sort of wanted to bring it back to that and just reiterate what Felix was saying around everybody needs to come together at a point like this. Everyone needs to collaborate, and we mustn't forget our private sector guys that are working outside of the communal areas on conservation. And just as we are, they're also trying to increase numbers of wildlife on their reserves. And, you know, we must look back to some of the things that have been successes and have been done before. And one of them is, in some cases, communal conservancies in Caprivi. They brought their wildlife numbers quite high, and in particular zebra, that they donated zebra to the Nkasa Lupala area that had lost numbers of zebras. And we need to look how we can encourage this kind of, you know, looking at our wildlife, that carrying capacities, as long as we don't have natural migration routes. And this is what conservation is about. And how we can help each other to recover where we need to, and that at, you know, at this point, what we're coming together for, you know, like we've been talking about, local tourism is Lekker. It's how we come together, all of us as Namibians, not species specific anymore. We need to come together and conserve our biodiversity. And this needs to be a lot more conversations with everybody.
Thanks, Nadia. I think I just want to open up quickly. Lara, Joseph has said to me, you might have some thoughts on the virtual tourism aspect of Namibia. Some thoughts on that? Joseph, did I ask that right? Was it that? I'm picking up on.
Yeah, the question is actually, when we look at conservancy, since they are working mostly in conservancy, do you think that virtual tours or tourism can be able to be implemented in the conservancy areas?
Who are you asking, Joseph? Anyone?
Anybody?
You guys specifically.
Well, it costs money, huh? So it depends who pays, because it costs money to send a cameraman, to send a camera, to send a car, to pay for fuel. So it depends who is funding it and for what purpose. But it is technically possible. I even have a 360 camera, but then we have to see who is paying for it and what is the target.
That's what we're at the moment sourcing, definitely, to actually get some support like that going. And this is the initiative that we'll still be building on and actually still get back to you guys. So if you have some info that you can share and your thoughts on that, please send that through to us. I think more importantly, I want to just open up the group a bit. I see Rupesh and Michelle have disappeared. And I've got one person possibly still joining. So any questions at this point in time, or cross members, or anything else that we've missed up until now? Some thoughts for anybody?
Can I make one point?
Yes, Maria, of course, please.
Sorry, I just, you know, the last speaker was talking about funding a cameraman and petrol and vehicle and all the rest of it. I mean, we're learning with these Zoom chats. I mean, I never knew what Zoom was until about a week ago. That you know, we have an incredible ability to communicate really effectively with very, very little money. You know, if you got a really nice cell phone, just make sure you hold it horizontally and not vertically. And I mean, that footage can be used by BBC. So, you know, I'm sure that you know, whoever's organizing this or in charge of editing could use footage too. Your game guards can get great footage. They're going to get great footage. They're going to get better footage, I would imagine, in a conservancy. Your game guards or you know, your people on the ground than, you know, somebody who comes out for 24 hours or 48 hours with a camera and a vehicle and costs quite a bit. So I think we have to be open to the possibility that we have a lot of resources on our hands that don't cost a lot of money. And if somebody's willing to edit those, because maybe he'll even do it for free. I don't know, because I came in late to this conversation. I'm not sure, but, you know, let him edit it for free and splash his name all over it. We all help this video go viral. And I mean, that's his payment, you know, and maybe organizations like us and the conservancies and all the rest of it will use him afterwards. That's the risk or the chance that he's going to take. But I would certainly see a possibility, and I would certainly want to support somebody, you know, that can help with initiatives like that. So I don't think we have to worry about, you know, making a huge production. I think we can do a lot with just our cell phones and internet.
Felix, I think you see you had your hand up, so please, are you commenting on that?
No, I mean, I could participate with my 360 camera and probably a cameraman to do that. But then we need to be different parties coming together, and of course we can give credit to everyone, and we can keep on promoting Namibia in an innovative way.
Awesome. That's very, very good to hear. Joseph, Ronnie, what thoughts do we still have on our agenda? Any other questions that anybody might still have? As you said, Tammy might actually still joining us. Did I read that correct? Okay, but we haven't gotten the connection yet. So I think I'll leave it open a bit if there's anything else that we've missed up until now.
Heiko, if I can come in there.
Of course.
Yeah, just adding to this virtual tours, there's a lot of trail camera footage Tammy has, and Desert Line Project has. Maybe if they've got the time, they can, also give that to supplement this, because I'm sure there must be a lot of brilliant footage on those camera traps that they've got all over the show as well. We certainly do have as well. So that could also add a dimension to that.
Excellent. I think definitely so.
Yeah, Heiko, same as us, we also have quite a lot of footage. Most stuff will go up on Facebook or on Instagram, but we do pretty well with our video clips. And there is a couple of films, I think, on the website that you can see, and on Facebook that someone has actually done properly. So, and I know that guy's quite up for sharing it and helping. So if you see something you like, you can also let us know.
Excellent, because I think the most important thing there is going to be the quality, especially if we can retransfer that to something like that. Just wanted to see now. Yeah, I'm going to be getting that connection. John, yeah, Joseph, you said John wanted to say something?
No. On a visual tour.
No.
Do you have any footages that you would like to share with us?
You talking to me, Joseph?
Yeah, on the visual tours, do you have some footages?
Oh yeah, the thing is, actually, I've been looking at some of the footage that they do. Well, some of the guys already started from 2016. Some balloon operators around the world already started with the virtual tourism. But they do use some really, really expensive camera settings. It's a big camera you put in your backpack. It's this whole major thing. But we would always have footage from our flights. We thought about this. It would be a possibility to share with our clients. Some of our clients already asked us to, because they have been able to come this year. They said, hey, could you share us a picture of the sunset or of the sunrise, or of the place where you're flying, because we couldn't come. So at least then we could at least kind of save this for next year when we do come, when they've rebooked. So yeah, we're basically working on the footage. I've spoken to Jens as well from the Travel Channel. He was with us last week, and I said to him, okay, as soon as I get everything together, some really good high res stuff, I'll send it over to him, and also to Local is Lekker, the info group.
Awesome. That sounds very promising, to say that's the least. Guys, I think we've reached literally everything that we've wanted to cover up until now. I think the information session today, in my personal opinion, has been phenomenal to find out what's going on everywhere, and touching base and touching ground with everybody on the platform today so far, and also seeing where we're going. So from my side, I personally want to literally thank everybody that has given their input towards these informal discussions as we've had them up until now. We will definitely be continuing to do them. We are very happy and thankful for all our advocates that we actually have. Any closing remarks from somebody specifically? I'll leave it open for about another. Yeah.
Is there a way forward? Is there somebody leading a way forward? Next steps to be taken.
On that, we have got a lot of other conservationists who couldn't join today, and they have requested if we could do one more session next week. This gives everyone a bit more time to think as well, and and then we can decide what's the best way forward regarding that.
Okay. Thank you.
To summarize now, the most important thing just to know is that everybody from different parts have basically provided what they could possibly need. So the message is local and the message is us as Namibians. So from the organizations, we'd be expecting or hoping, not expect, but hoping, of course, for getting information on what we can do to help, even if it's just by advocating your message and getting the Namibians on board for that. Secondly, how those people that have the time can actually partake and be there to see how one can coordinate something like that. And then, of course, lastly, those that as Namibians are able to still facilitate or afford fundraising, by all means, that's something that I leave open to the organization specific. What we want to advocate is the message and how we can actually stand together as a united front and get your message out there as well. Lastly, it was then the project for the united message in terms of video and also virtual tourism and so on. That's an ongoing project. Felix, just to actually highlight on that, we'll definitely be touching base with everybody that has actually offered to provide us with some things. So as soon as we've got a bit more information on that, we'll definitely call a session to discuss it. And lastly, let's keep the faith, let's keep the positivity flowing, and we'll inform you of our next session. So if anybody else has some closing remarks, and then I think once that's done, Rupesh, we can just end it on there. So from my side, thanks.
No, I think Michelle also wanted to say a few words because she also has another session in 10 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really just wanted to say it's a great honor to be on this panel, the forum, and to hear all the great work that's being done in Namibia. And really heartwarming to know that you guys are still positive and you're out there. And I just want to say from my side, sitting here internationally, Africa's Finest Safaris is really, as a marketing company, really wanting to do, promote Namibia destination, all your hard work. So keep in touch with us. And as we go forward, stay positive. And I look forward to engaging with you guys soon. I hope to travel very soon. I'm just looking at the flights every single day. Has it opened up? Has it opened up? I'll see you guys soon. Cheers. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye. Isaac, would you like to say something?
Sorry?
Isaac, would you like to say something?
Me?
Closing remarks or something, yeah.
It's nice seeing everybody. Some of you I know, some I don't. Looking forward to getting to know you better. And yeah, thanks for your contribution. And like everybody, like Michelle also said, let's stay positive and do the best with what we have in these dire times. Thank you very much for listening to what I had to say as well.
No, thank you very much. We try to get through to as many people as we can. So we, if at least two of you say, or even one of you says, look, let's do another session next week. We want to say something. Just let us know and we will set it up. Right? Because there are so many comments on Facebook. If you go back and see, I think it will also give you a lot more insight on what people have been chatting about on the talk.
Yeah. I would actually personally also appreciate it if those that have joined today can join again, just so that we have the message out there. But even if there's some bit of cross-platform information that can be shared or discussed at that point, it'll just make the information flow so much better.
Thank you very much, everyone. So I'll let you know when we arrange the next one. Otherwise, we'll chat. Our email address has been posted on the chat if you guys want to write it down.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And if there is a working group getting together about a way forward, we'll be interested to participate.
Perfect. We will let you know there is. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rupesh.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.